Have you ever had a nightmare so vivid you woke up with your heart pounding, convinced it was real? Imagine that feeling, but the nightmare doesn't end when you open your eyes. Imagine being attacked, bitten, and tormented by something no one else can see. This isn't the plot of a new horror movie. This is the documented, terrifying, and deeply mysterious story of Clarita Villanueva. Our story takes us back to Manila, in the Philippines, in the year 1953. The city was still rebuilding, healing from the scars of war, but a new kind of terror was about to grip its citizens. It all centered on a 17-year-old girl named Clarita. Orphaned and living on the streets, Clarita had a tough life that eventually led her to be incarcerated in Manila's old Bilibid prison, accused of vagrancy. Inside those grim walls, what started as a minor offense spiraled into a case that would capture international attention and become one of the most famous possession allegations in modern history. It began subtly, then escalated with horrifying speed. Clarita started screaming in her cell, claiming she was being attacked by invisible forces. At first, guards and officials were skeptical. A troubled teenager acting out, perhaps? But then came the physical evidence. Deep, angry bite marks would suddenly appear on her body, on her neck, her arms, her torso, right in front of bewildered onlookers. There were two sets of marks, one large and one small. Clarita would writhe in agony, describing two entities, a large, dark figure with fangs like a bulldog, and a smaller, almost playful but equally malevolent being. The prison doctors were stumped. They examined her thoroughly. There was no evidence of self-harm, no way she could have inflicted these specific, gruesome wounds on herself, especially not on her own back and neck. They tried sedatives, but the attacks continued, sometimes even intensifying. Clarita would contort, her body arching in unnatural positions as if being lifted and thrown by an unseen assailant. The story leaked from the prison walls and spread like wildfire through Manila. Was it hysteria? A bizarre medical condition? Or was something truly supernatural at play? The mayor of Manila at the time, Arsenio Lacson, was a no-nonsense man, not one to believe in ghosts or goblins. But the reports were too consistent, the witnesses too credible, and the physical marks on Clarita's body were undeniable. He personally went to the prison to witness the events for himself. What he saw shook him. He watched as Clarita, in a state of terror, pointed to empty spaces in the room, screaming that he was there. And then, before his very eyes, fresh bite marks reportedly bloomed on her skin, crimson and raw. This was no longer just a prison matter. Mayor Lacson, deeply disturbed, called in a team of medical professionals and psychiatrists. They ran every test they could think of. They concluded Clarita was not mentally unwell in any conventional sense. She was lucid and intelligent between the attacks. Yet, the episodes of torment continued, growing more violent each day. During these fits, she would sometimes speak in languages she had never learned, her voice changing, becoming guttural and strange. The situation was escalating beyond the realm of medicine and science. Desperate for a solution, Mayor Lacson made a call that would change the course of the entire affair. He reached out to the clergy. The case was brought to the attention of an American Protestant missionary named Dr. Lester Sumrall. Dr. Sumrall was in Manila holding revival meetings and was known for his charismatic faith. He was skeptical at first, but agreed to see the girl. When he entered her cell, he found a scene of chaos. Clarita was thrashing, held down by several large men, yet she displayed a strength that seemed impossible for her small frame. Dr. Sumrall began to pray. According to his own accounts, the moment he invoked a higher power, Clarita's struggles intensified. She spat at him, cursed him, and the invisible entities she claimed were tormenting her seemed to focus their rage on this new intrusion. This began a grueling, 3-day spiritual battle within the confines of that small prison cell. Dr. Sumrall, along with other pastors and believers, engaged in continuous prayer and fasting. They described it as a direct confrontation, not with a girl, but with the dark forces that had taken root in her life. The struggle was intense. At times, Clarita would seem to calm down, only for the violent attacks to resume moments later. The bite marks would continue to appear. Witnesses, including reporters and police officers who had come to scoff, were left stunned and speechless. The chief of police, who had initially dismissed the case as a hoax, became a believer after he personally witnessed a bite mark materialize on Clarita's hand as he was holding it. The physical evidence was simply too compelling to ignore. Skeptics, of course, offered alternative explanations. Some suggested it was a case of extreme psychosomatic suggestion, that Clarita, under immense stress and perhaps influenced by local folklore, was subconsciously causing these marks to appear on her own body. This phenomenon, called dermatographia, can cause the skin to welt and raise from even light scratches. But could it explain the distinct, deep, and perfectly formed bite marks that multiple doctors confirmed were not scratches? Could it explain her speaking in unlearned languages or her superhuman strength? Others pointed to mass hysteria, suggesting that the heightened, superstitious atmosphere in the prison and the city led everyone, including doctors and officials, to interpret events through a supernatural lens. It's a plausible theory in some contexts, but it struggles to account for the sheer volume of credible, high-ranking witnesses who all reported seeing the same inexplicable physical phenomena, independently of one another. The case of Clarita Villanueva stands apart because it wasn't just whispers and shadows. It was documented with medical reports, photographs of the bites, and testimonies from skeptics turned believers. On the third day of Dr. Sumrall's intervention, something shifted. After a final, intense session of prayer, Clarita Villanueva suddenly fell calm. The tension in the room dissipated. She looked around, her eyes clear for the first time in weeks. She took a deep breath and said, simply and quietly, "He's gone." And just like that, it was over. The attack stopped. The bite marks ceased to appear. The voices fell silent. Clarita was free. After her release, Clarita Villanueva chose to live a quiet life, away from the media frenzy that had surrounded her. She found solace in faith and dedicated herself to a normal existence, a stark contrast to the paranormal circus her life had become. The case, however, lived on. It was featured in newspapers and magazines around the world, from Time magazine to local Filipino publications. Dr. Sumrall wrote a book about his experience, titled Bitten by Demons, which became a key text in charismatic Christian circles. So, what really happened in that Manila prison cell in 1953? Was Clarita Villanueva the victim of a genuine demonic possession, a terrifying brush with a malevolent entity from beyond our understanding? Or was she an impressionable young woman caught in a perfect storm of psychological distress, cultural superstition, and mass suggestion, resulting in a bizarre and unexplained medical manifestation? The truth is, we may never know for certain. The case remains a chilling and compelling mystery. The skeptics have valid points about the power of the human mind, but the believers have something more tangible: photographs of the wounds, sworn testimonies from dozens of witnesses, and the simple, undeniable fact that a terrified 17-year-old girl was being physically wounded by something that no one could see. Whatever it was real to her, and the marks it left were real to everyone who saw them. Clarita's story serves as a stark reminder that there are experiences in this world that defy easy explanation, events that live on the unsettling border between what we know and what we fear. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's most baffling cases. What do you think happened to Clarita? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you enjoy exploring the unexplained, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more stories that will make you question everything. Until next time, stay curious.